Sixth or higher gets it done today for Sébastien Tixier. A season where neither he nor Hervé Trengarade have been able to make a decisive breakaway. Hervé is the one in must-win territory. The season comes down to the wire around the track that has been the history setter for over half a century. This is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, round 12 of 12, live on the Global Sim Racing channel. One of these two will be a Grand Prix legend by the time this race is over, and we're all for it here today. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me in the booth will be Joey Atterbury calling the action. Behind the scenes is our director Adam Lindgren, and he is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. On the road of the famous cycling classic, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, it is around here where attacks tend to light up. But who will be a starlet? And crucially, where? Our GSRC track guide will show all the points of attack today.
Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round.
Now, it's not exactly the run to the Master Kink that they'll have to deal with today, Joey, the long behemoth of a track that visited the towns out there of Stavelot up to Francorchamps. But this track, formerly of public road, now converted to a dedicated racetrack, it is still the gold standard of racing.
It really is, especially here in Europe. Round 12 of 12 today. You mentioned we are crowning a champion. Who is it going to be? And then 15 laps around this place. But before we get to there, check out this racetrack. 19 turns in length, just under 4.5 miles, and a couple big areas. The Kemmel Straight there. We're going to see tons of passing opportunities going after that into the braking zone. And then also into the bus stop, probably your next biggest braking zone to get some of those passes done. But I think the name of the game here today, Jake, is going to be keeping the car on the track. There's tons of elevation. This place is so fast. Don't go flying off of the racetrack, because if you do, you'll find yourself in a barrier.
It's so easy to do, and even though that this circuit had been at one point in time the bearer of standards of safety out there, it is that sort of track to go through. Championship standings up on your screen. Sébastien Tixier, 14 points to the good. With drops in play, Trengarade must win. Tixier just needs a 6th or higher, and it will not matter if Trengarade wins the race or not here today. That is going to be one of the focuses to go through. Third pretty much wrapped up for Togo Hasada in third position, with Benjamin Shoko and John Olsen. We'll keep an eye on that. They are tied on points in 4th and 5th positions, 5 points behind Jorge Nieva. Gary Ho is 7th with Antti Lepisto in 8th. David Rossi is currently 9th. And Xavier Sanchez, Heike 360 ES, rounds out the top 10, 151 points adrift. Joey, F2 standings just as close to fight for here tonight, today.
They are just a few more points separating our top two, though. Robert Plumley comes in with a 17-point lead over Terry Tromhauser. However, check out the groups of battles here. Jonathan Jordan, Bjorn Ackerman, only 3 points separate those two battling for third position. Also, Andrew Eng, Tobias Harnvey, Kurt Clapper, only 5 points separating those three drivers. And then one more time, Jan Steffen, Mats Linden, Steve Morris, 3 points. So all the way through this top 10 in the F2 driver standings, things can happen today.
Oh, things can. Things always have happened in these sorts of races, and they will do. It's also on for the Cup of Nations. Singapore currently on top of that with Norway in second. That is Tixier versus Trengaray up there overall, with the United States currently in third place out there outright. Spain find themselves fourth, with the United Kingdom fifth in a battle with Japan for that top 5 position. And then it's Finland in seventh, Germany eighth, and Australia leading home Denmark 9th and 10th overall as things stands in the Cup of Nations. But as we look here at round 12 of 12, Joey, the 15 laps that they'll have to deal with today are going to be 15 of the toughest laps they will deal with all season. This is a tough place to end the championship.
Like you said, one of the classics of road racing, and you mentioned it, open setups, no spare car. We talked about those barriers. They can come out and grab you. Well, not only that, but a drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25. But Jake, even with those incident points, I know that Spa, you can run out wide here. You can kind of collect some of those. I just feel with the speed that you carry in these cars, the walls are going to come up a lot faster than those incident points.
Oh, they are, and I think it's going to be really telling here today that those walls could be the difference maker in a car that has no downforce on it, but a car that was so revolutionary in terms of what it meant for racing back in the 60s and up over the top of the hill. You can see how the car pitches, Joey, down the hill at Bruchel's corner, this long sweeping right-hander. Every time you're on the brakes, you are just hoping that the car is going to stop and is going to put itself in a position to get you through the corner.
Well, not only that, but did you see it wiggle and wag the tail coming out of the corners? And these cars, you can definitely tell they're vintage cars. They don't make them like this anymore. You look at how much this thing moves around. It really pitches on the brakes like you see here. It dives the front nose. It rolls over in the corners and then really squats when you try to roll onto the throttle. It gives it so much character, and I think that's why it is so loved by all these racers.
Absolutely, it's a throwback, and I think you have to really rely on your skills as a driver to make this sort of track work. Now making that charge through on what is an incredible run here moving forward. In sim time, by the way, we're not even here 6 o'clock in the morning. This is as early start gets here as they go through, but now rushing forward through Blanchimont corner over to that final chicane, and every single time out there is going to start crawling its way in, and they're not going to have long in terms of getting those times. It's John Olsen who's currently the quickest on the 2:19 flat, and let's not forget, this isn't going to be the finish line here today. They are using the old pit out here today, so the run through La Source is actually the final corner out on track. Togo Hasada currently on top of the times at the moment, 2:17.688, as we focus then on the drive to the line. And is this going to be an improvement for Antti Lepisto moving on through? And that time then is good enough to move up to 5th place.
Lepisto flexing a little bit of muscle, putting that first lap inside the top 5, but I tell you what, if you did not get out there and start your lap immediately, look at the time already. You're not going to be able to complete a second lap, so you got to be on it right away out here in qualifying. And Jake, I wanted to touch on that weather one more time because it seems like something out of a storybook right now. Pre-6 a.m., 64 degrees. It's like you wake up in the countryside, you have your morning coffee, and there's some race cars going around out there.
Well, there are, and I tell you what, you just wake up and you go, this is everything that you want, and then some. Laust Olsen making a charge forward. And these second times are going to be interesting. Currently with Trengarade third and Tixier in fourth. It is Hisada and Shedlik who are looking to be, I would assume, the difference makers here today in terms of this championship. But Laus, someone who absolutely loves being in these races. So too Togo Hisada, who is currently your pole sitter in the number 7 machine at this point. These times are all going to flurry on in at the end, and pretty much everybody now is saying either you've got the time or you've not got the time. And look at him drift it through Blanchimont.
Togo Hisada is really on it, but check out Laust Olsen. Now, this is curious because Laust did not get his first lap in. He must have gone off the track somewhere, which discounted that, or I should say disqualified that lap. And so Laust trying to keep it clean here and actually put himself on the grid.
Yeah, and Laos needing a time, starting at the back. It's one split, 43 drivers. So last place you want to be is not setting a lap time out there on track. And how did he do? The answer is not too brilliant, I didn't think, out there. Xavier Sanchez goes up. Hisada even quicker, 2:17.1. He's 7 tenths, nearly 8 tenths clear of the entire field. Auntie Lepisto, number 1, trying to find some time. Trengarade still in third. His lap, no good. Tixier's lap, no good either. 2:18.2, only good enough for 5th place. Jorge Nieves moved up inside the top 10. Jack David Spickett there. Lepisto just crossing the line, only gets 6th place. So that's going to pretty much do it then for this field. Nobody else is going to be in a place really to set some lap times. Gary Anderson may be the only other driver who's gone there and got through. So let's take ourselves then over to the starting grid. This is how they'll line up at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It will be Togo Hisada, who will be on pole position at 2:17.101. 4 tenths clear of Jim Shedlik in second position in the number 2. Hervé Trengarade will start in third with Xavier Sanchez fourth, and the championship leader Sebastien Tixier lining up in 5th. It's Auntie Lepisto alongside him in 6th, row 4, housing Jack David Spickett and Benjamin Shoko, with John Olsen just behind in 9th. That's a key battle, Shoko versus Olsen, and Jorge Nieva rounding the top 10.
Then we have Richard Watson and Gary Ho in row number 6. David Rossi in the 13th position. Laust Olsen qualified that car 14th. Matthew Maudsley inside the top 15. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado in 16th. Steve Morris and Bjorn Ackerman in row number 9. Michael Grissinger and Will Lamb in 20th.
Over the page to row 11, where Cam Porter and Jan Stefan find themselves. The F2 leader, Robert Plumley, starts 23rd with Thomas Tuba. Alongside him, Sandeep Banerjee and Mats Linden then on row 13. Then it's Tobias Hanvi and Andrew Eng, Terry Trommenshauser, and Ivan Adio on row 15.
We have Andres Bruno in 31st and Christo Shanmei in 32nd. Jonathan Jordan and Timothy Porter on row number 17. Gary Anderson and Jason Clapper, row 18. Christian Rumpelnick and Ellis Spice. Couple more down here. Kurt Clapper, Stefan Frisch, Akira Shumitoro, Richard Covington, and Robert Reynolds.
Akira Shimatori will be looking for a good run there from that 41st position. I'm sure all those drivers down there at the back will do. But at the front, it is going to be a crucial go of things with Togo Hisada at the front. Trengarade starting third. Tixier in 5th. It is advantage Tixier, but anything can happen around this circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. That much we do know, and that much we know with aplomb. So now you've got to start wondering, how does the title picture look coming out of this? A champion will be decided. Green flag in the air, we're underway. Hisada doesn't get a good start compared to Jim Shedlik, who will give himself the jump going up into Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. Trengarade stays in third. Tixier gets past Xavier Sanchez, up into 4th, struggles up the top of the hill then for Shedlik, and it brings Hisada back into position then for the race lead. They all make it through okay, but now for the race lead, it is on. Trengarade trying to make moves to the outside. Hisada with control. He leads the race. They go through Lake Coon.
I'm looking, Sebastien Tixier is back there in 4th place, and Trengarade and Shedlik almost touch wheels here. Shedlik looking for a way by. Now he's going to be looking to the inside of Ove, going down the hill, but Trengarade late on the brakes, holds 2nd place.
Oh, he sliced a little bit there through the middle of the corner, but he's okay. He charges through to Speaker's Corner they go, and they all charge through. The group nice and committed at the moment. Single file up to Cam Porter and Will Lamb, as Lamb makes his way through. But now you see this group through the double gauche, left-handers. This is where you need all the commitment possible. Just down to 170 kilometers an hour through here in a car that can very comfortably hit 260 Ks on the straight plus. Now into Fania and Troubles in the back.
It looks like Gary Ho is having problems coming out of the corner there, and it's kind of like you mentioned that these cars don't have that downforce. However, they reach the speeds that you need those downforce levels, so you're right, they move around a ton.
Oh, I bet they do. And now you start wondering if they move themselves about so much, they could be in a world of hurt later on. Remember, only 15 laps. They will have to deal with some brake fade over the course of this race. But there's your top three, Hesada, Trengarade, and Shedlick as they run through to Blanchimont Corner. Hesada had the ace in the pack when it came to qualifying. Race pace, always slightly different here, Joey, because someone like Trengarade can go, well, I'll sit on the back of you and I'll let you tug me along.
The slipstream is very powerful here, and the other thing that we got to remember is this is 15 laps out here. There's different paces that go on. You got the fuel burn every single lap out here, so the cars are going to get busy. Oh my goodness, this is Terry Traumhauser having problems.
Yeah, Michael Grissinger around from Club Michigan, so he was pointed the wrong way at the final chicane, the chicane that made this track 7 there and 4 meters. And Troubles, that's Trengarade. That could be the championship right there.
Problems for one of our championship contenders, and I'm trying to see exactly what happened. I think there might be some damage from Jim Shedlick getting into the back of him in the hairpin.
Well, here you can see he's good there through, but he's struggling off the exit. I wonder if he clipped it too much on the inside. I wonder if it's that. You can see he's struggling to go through, and then bang, it goes heavily skewing to the right. We need another look at that because it has to be clipping the wall on the inside corner there of Last Source. So he goes into the early section of the track, and he does have a little bit of help there in the back, and I wonder if that has just broken a suspension bar there, a suspension rod on that rear right axle.
It has, Jake. You know, there was no contact with the inside wall, and unfortunately, I don't think this is Jim Shedlick's fault at all, because Trengarade got into that hairpin. He just got a little bit loose, and when he did that, he had to check up, and unfortunately, Shedlick was right there. Just a little bit of contact in the wrong spot, and just heartbreak for Trengarade.
Yeah, that is heartbreak, and I tell you what, he has driven a fantastic season, and he now knows that his day is done. So what we can say is that the title is secure, and at the end of this race, no matter what happens, it will be Tixier who comes away with it. But Robert Plumley right now, the world of Kinducci, is racing hard, and he is in a massive scrap here. That's Jan Stefan. He's trying to get the move sorted on. They remain side by side, but off goes the Londoner making the move. Robert Plumley getting it done.
We have to remember this F2 championship up here. Robert Plumley is our F2 points leader. Terry Traumhauser, Bjorn Ackerman also in it. And I'm seeing Bjorn way up there in 12th place right now. I think Ackerman's a little bit too far to catch our leader in terms of championship, but some of these F2 drivers having a really good day.
Yeah, they really are. And look at this, almost 3 wide as they go in, up and over the tyre. Troubles number 26 as it goes through. That's Stay Morris. That was the group, sorry, that's 24. Getting caught out. That's Thomas Tuba, who finds himself in the wrong place there. So no good for the Hungarian. He drops way down. Hesada with the fastest lap. But that final chicane is so inviting for attacks.
It is very inviting. It kind of welcomes you in with open arms, but then, trust me, it'll kick you out to the curb real fast if you get in there too fast.
Yeah, it really does. And now we focus here on Richard Watson in 10th place, looking at this group in front. Jorge Nieva, Jack David Spickett is there, and it's pretty much a case of a race on for 4th on back here. This is the back of the group. Javier Sanchez currently on the top of that, but that entire group is interesting, as is 9 versus 5. Benjamin Shoko versus John Olsen. Effectively here, Adam, it's whoever finishes ahead of the other wins their battle for 4th place in the championship. It is Shoko at the moment by half a second.
Well, I would love to bring Adam in here, but I think he's a little bit busy right now. But love seeing him keeping up with all the action that we're seeing out on the track. And right now, this is that battle. It's pretty good. Jake, I don't think it's going to separate. You know, this is 9th, 10th, but it really doesn't stop there. Like you mentioned, it really is about 5, 7 cars deep. And I feel like just one of these cars, if they make a little bit of a mistake or slip out wide, it's just kind of going to open the door, and it's not going to be one car, but multiple going through.
Oh, it will, and it's the freight train scenario that you have here. The moment that you don't find yourself on the inside of the circuit, the optimal line to go around this track, a lot of drivers then will have the ability to take advantage of the fact that you're not on the power, that you're having to wait to put the power down, and they will take those places away. That's how quickly it can all go out there on circuit. So all these drivers will learn and understand what do they have to do. It is currently Anti Lepisto in 5th at this point as they all look to try and drive on through, but there is Tixier in 3rd, chasing down the top 2 who have not broken away, Hesada and Shedlick. And I think Togo Hesada knows he's in for a bit of a race here with Jim Shedlick at this moment in time. 1 and 2 in this race as they qualified.
Yeah, and this is actually Shedlick chasing our leader, Hesada. And now we're not going to get a move coming up through Eau Rouge. However, Shedlick in a prime opportunity. Look at how close he is. Just got to focus on getting a clean exit. And wow, look at how much these drivers are fighting the car every lap. But here we go. In the slipstream, Hesada moves drivers right. He puts the car right in the middle of the racetrack and goes deeper on the brakes, defends that lead.
Yeah, defends it, but watch this. The up and under, he's trying to find a way to get to the inside here, take a big power move through Malmedy Corner, which opens up the chance down the hill at Bruxelles. Just didn't quite get alongside here on lap 4 of 15, but the patience is going to be needed. The diamonding of the corner there by Togo Hesada, built for the exit, and watching the distance, there's a bit of lap traffic.
And it's just the first of the lap traffic. We're only on lap 4, so I have a feeling they're going to have to navigate this all race long, and here we go through this fast downhill left-hander. The car's doing over 115 miles an hour. I'm seeing 140 miles an hour on exit.
145 miles an hour on exit, but they are noting now that every time that they're pushing through, this is a car that absolutely has the old style feel. I mean, you could just look there back at the rear tire and you see how the axle there, you can see the movement of it as it goes through the suspension, how much it's working as it goes on through this section of track. And then you start thinking about, okay, every individual piece here. This car was built for one thing and one thing only. Go fast, and actually one thing, 2 things. 1, go fast. 2, be light.
Yes, safety was not in consideration too much. You know, there's a few things. You see a little roll hoop that's a little bit shorter than the driver's head. That's okay, but at least it's in there. I would be amused to see one of these cars go through like a modern safety car test. I wonder what it would look like.
I tell you what, I wouldn't like to see where the mechanical dummy would end up afterwards. Oh, Jim, my boy, that was very deep on the brakes. Into the last source hairpin, the final corner on this layout of Spa. He is really trying to put the pressure on Hesada at this moment of the race. They've broken away from Javier Sanchez to the tune of nearly 3 seconds, so they don't have that to worry about. But again, over the hill, you have to be careful. Once upon a time, that line by Hesada would have been a slow down penalty. It isn't anymore. Remember, they relaxed the limits about 3 years ago. Now here comes the look to the inside. Jim Shedlick. Has he got enough of it as they hit the brakes into the corner? Side by side, they'll battle. Hesada gives him all the room in the world, but Jim is gonna find a way to take the race lead, and now it's 3 to the front.
And Togo, I think, realizes that Shedlick is a little bit faster. If you remember, that's where Jim was pointing his nose that last lap and got it done a couple corners prior to that this time. And so, yeah, new leader, Jim Shedlick. But trust me, I would not count Togo or Sebastian out of this yet. And jumping back, this is Bjorn Ackerman. This is one of our F2 points championship contenders. Having a couple problems out there, finds himself in 15th now.
I wouldn't say troubles. I would say watch around for who's having troubles out there. So, actually, yeah, he did. Straight on at the chicane. He was going straight on. He was heading all the way to Francorchamps.
Well, I think what happened is he just got a little bit too far driver's left out there, Jake. I think I saw him in the brake zone dip a tire in the grass, and that is not what you want to do.
That is not what you want to do at all. It can so easily have been the end of your race there. And you talk about these tyres here and how easy it is just to grab the grass. That difference in property here, they've got those massive rear tyres on the back. You have to be so alert on where you place your car, because what you see from outside your cockpit windows is your front right and your front left. You've got to leave even more room than that.
Oh, for sure. They do stick out further, and you can even see that. Following Will Lamb here as we ride on board with Cam Porter. Those back tires, not only are they taller, but they also stick out wider. So visually, yeah, you don't see them back there, and they also take up some room in the mirror when you're looking at those competitors behind you.
Yeah, and in the rear mirror, you can see it is literally just the smallest thing hanging on the side. You need patience every time you go through. We look further forward. This is Jack David Spickett now, who is back in what is 11th position. So we'll catch this on the GSRC replay here at the final chicane. Overcooks it going through, and you have to find and temper your braking marker. He has to do the embarrassing cut through of that section of the track. A chicane which has changed a lot of times over the years, and now the focus will be what can you do, and there's troubles out there as well for number 3. It looks like Javier Sanchez is out.
Oh no, I wonder what happened to Xavier Sanchez there, but this lead battle is continuing to rage on. And Jake, one thing I've noticed this season, especially about Togo Hesada, I've mentioned it in prior broadcasts, that I feel like he goes through a couple phases in the race in terms of his speed. Like, he'll be a rocket ship at one point in the race, and then sometimes he'll struggle a little bit. And it seems like Shedlick got around him in one of these points that Togo is maybe a little bit slower, and then now all of a sudden he's picked it right back up.
Yeah, he has. And Tixier here is really trying to move forward here. He's really trying to keep himself in play with what has been a really, really important race for his standards. He knows he wants to get himself a victory to end this season now, as Hesada sees Jim Shedlick run wide coming through the campus corner. You have to remember, Sebastian Tixier is going to win this title, but he hasn't won a race since Jerez. That's round 5.
And I think Tixier is just kind of sitting back there. He sees these two battling. He knows how close they are. I mean, it's almost taken our breath away how close Shedlick got to Hesada in the hairpin. And then also some of these drafting moves with the lane change maneuvers to try to get clean air. I think Tixier is just kind of hanging out right now. And he's in a good spot, rightfully so. Oh no, Shedlick deep!
And now around, here goes Togo Hesada. On the power, he takes the race lead away. So Jim Shedlick gives it up, and Hesada now with the lead. Tixier in third. It's now Jim Shedlick going to have to be really, really choice with the way he brakes, because he's found out now twice over the course of this lap why he doesn't want to brake wide, why he doesn't want to go deep through these corners. He's being a little bit too aggressive at this point.
Sometimes, as a racing car driver, you gotta drive slower to go faster, and this is a perfect example. You just mentioned it. Shedlick getting a little bit too aggressive. If he backs it off just a little bit, might actually end up going faster. But here we go. Right in the draft, though, he opts not to make a move this time.
Yeah, no choice in terms of making that move. Didn't want to try and attack just yet. Jim Shedlick, though, being patient. Back in the pack, side by side. John Olsen there on Jorge Nieva getting close. Olsen having to hold that place because, remember, he's only one behind. Benjamin Shoko, he's got to reach him, and more battling. Stay Maurice and David Rossi. Rossi having a great race out there in 12.
Yeah, I think Steve Morris actually just overtook David Rossi, and now we're seeing Rossi try to battle back on the inside. This is such a common area to poke your nose down into, and you see you're able to hold this line, and if he's able to capitalize, see, this is the tough part, side by side through the left-hander, and unfortunately, the 17 of David Rossi is going to continue to lose out because now he's on the wrong side of the track again.
Wrong side, so has to back out of it then and admit defeat. Marco Antonio Lopez behind, but wide goes Stay Morris, and that could open up the door then on the exit, but he takes advantage of that little wider line using the off-track instant point and going forward for it. There is the view then from Marco Antonio Lopez here, the Spaniard just behind them, and every place will matter here in a race like this. You just got to be patient and mistakes will happen, especially the later that this sort of race goes on, because this is such an intensive car to drive.
You have to be on top of it every single lap. You got to wait for your competitors to make a mistake because attrition does play a role out here. We've seen several of these fast cars already drop out of the race, and actually, this is the battle I just had my eye on. It starts up at Ben Zocco, John Olsen, Nieva, I believe Richard Watson is even involved in this one. 4 cars all in here for, I believe, 5th place.
And for 4th place in the championship, because Shoko and Olsen are tied on points, Nieva is trying to be the help for Ben Shoko out there at this point. How much does he have on the power? This is such a crucial corner, Lassos, going on through up the hill, because you have to, absolutely have to, carry as much speed as you can through Eau Rouge. 243 Ks down to just 205, and then back on the power on the exit. Big kick from Watson.
I mean, you just mentioned it, a minute ago, how much these drivers have to stay on top of it every single lap, and I think that's an example. Eau Rouge, every lap, it is truly still a hold-your-breath moment.
It is, and I tell you what, every single moment is going to be key, and oh, that's heavy damage and troubles there. Andrew Eng there getting a big kick out of the Lassos hairpin there, so Eng finding himself here down in 25th position, struggling about a bit.
Replay here of exactly what happened to Andrew, and coming down into the hairpin. Now, this is where we saw our Trengrade Shedlick contact. I wonder if we're going to have something similar. Andrew Eng also getting loose, spinning it around, and does he make any contact? I don't see any contact. I think maybe just some overheated tires.
Yeah, and that can be so easily done, and you certainly sense that when you have an opportunity to go out to make something happen, to make a race like this a reality, you just start thinking, okay, I can't really afford to be in a position where I throw my race away. It's so easy to spin these tires up. It's so easy to spin around. And there you can see a view of one of the most famous engines ever created. Probably the most famous engine, Joey, the Ford DFV Cosworth.
I mean, look at the stacks coming out of that thing. Now, me personally, I am a huge sucker for individual throttle bodies. And, I mean, looking at those things sticking up out of the top, yeah, I love me some of that.
Oh, I tell you what, I do as well. This is such a beautiful engine, but that gap comes down again as Jim Shedlick stays in place, and now Sebastian Tixier is the one having to pretty much say, no, wait for me, guys, because he is almost out at a second, and now at 1.1, you'd say he's on the wrong side of the road. He's hoping that these two battle here, lap 8 to 15, but if they continue to run on Hesada time at this moment here, with Jim Shedlick not trying to make the move, I don't know what Tixier is going to do to get back.
I agree. He's right there in that danger area, like 1.3 seconds, and here we go. Jim Shedlick now going to the left side of the racetrack. Togo Hesada once again defensive. Now, we've seen Shedlick very fast through this section kind of be able to capitalize on some over-unders with some better lines. I don't think he's close enough to make a move here. He's just kind of annoying our leader. But, Jake, just as they did that, a little bit of too wide, look at how much Tixier was able to close that back up. He's now within half a second.
He is, but Olsen and Nieva now, 3 corners they fought side by side, and then at Bruxelles, it's confirmed by Nieva, or is it? Trying to search back up the inside is John Olsen. Not going to have it here at Speaker's Corner. The door is firmly shut. Big slide, though, from Nieva. Olsen will get underneath and has the inside for the double gauche left that come along next. This is a big battle out there, but crucially with too much speed. Thank you very much. And running wide goes Olsen. That might open the door. It's shut on Richard Watson.
Yeah, you saw Richard Watson try to poke his nose in there, but you're right. John Olsen promptly shut that door. And check this out. This is a replay of Bjorn Ackerman, what we're going to be able to see here, and he's going to have a few troubles coming down the hill.
Up the hill. Absolutely up the hill, I think, is the issue there. Going through into Les Combes on the curb. What happens? Oh, it just falls away. Backwards you go, and that is a horrible, horrible feeling to have, not knowing where you are. Does tag the wall then off for the exit, then trying to get the flick spin around, and that is just a scary moment. Shedlick's gone straight on. Jim Shedlick goes straight on. He has to serve the slowdown penalty.
Yeah, yep, I'm happy you caught that as well because Sebastian Tixier had caught Shedlick. He was having problems at some point in that lap, and let me tell you, Tixier is so good on the brakes. He showed the nose. Shedlick took it too far into the brake zone, totally locked up and blew the corner.
A complete lockup, couldn't quite get what was needed. There you can see just straight on and very much having to commit, and then has to hit the brakes, wait for the penalty to slow and get going again. Shedlick now finds himself 3 seconds off the back of Tixier, and his race pretty much is confined to and consigned to that third place position at this point. Olsen, though, knows that he's in a world of trouble here, is John, because he's looking behind. He's thinking, well, that could be 8th place. Behind that, that's the other Olsen, Laus, different spelling of Olsen, but Jack David Spickett, the most Lotus 49 name in the field, makes the pass.
JDS is climbing himself out of the hole. Remember, we saw him have those problems earlier in the race, and so right now, Jack running 9th place, down 2 from where he started, but trust me, he's back on the charge.
He is on the charge. He is really trying to go at this moment, and every single second counts. Jack David Spickett, though, doing a good job. He's now -2 for his day, and would love to find the 3 seconds that gets him to that next group, or if they start squabbling in front. But this has been a very well-behaved race at the front of this field, and they have to really work hard to get back into this and get themselves into play. Back in the pack, though, this is Tobias Hanvey and Mats Linden out there racing for place, and these two 21st and 22nd position out there, and every place matters in a race like this. The biggest mover so far is Jason Clapper. He's up 20 spots.
Jake, are you stealing my notes over here literally as soon as I put them down to talk about? Because it seems like everything I've got a talking point, you kind of take it away from me over here. But right, Mats Linden, okay, here we go. He's got an opportunity on Tobias Harnvey. You see him closing right up on this back bumper, and even though we're back here 21st, 20th place, like you said, points always matter. And what I also love about this vintage community, they always share the setup. So all of these cars, they're usually pretty hooked up and even out there.
Yeah, everything is pretty even, so you don't really have much that you can really change in terms of this car, in terms of what you can adjust to make it go even quicker. But even the best drivers in the world have an ability to just find that little extra bit more out of a car like this. Tobias Hanvey in 21st position is now going to have to be someone who is looking around at his race, thinking, what can I do? Where can I go? He knows it's 3 or 4 seconds to Cam Porter in front. He's just thinking, okay, with 5 laps to go and I cross the start-finish line, not now, but over at Last Source and up the hill, that's where I'm starting to think, okay, one position here, one position there. You think about the big picture to start, and then you micromanage it down with the less laps you've got. Tixier having a really good lap here, though. He's brought the gap from 1.3 at the line to half a second.
I completely agree with you. You kind of have to focus on your own race, and then the battles fall into your lap, just like what we are seeing here with Sebastian Tixier. He was a little bit further back, but all of a sudden, right back into the lead battle. Is look at this. Timothy Porter, this is a battle back here for 30th place. I know that some of these cars have a little bit of damage going on, but it doesn't matter if you're up front or back here. The battles are awesome.
That's a heavy amount of damage. You can certainly sense it there for Ellis Spice as he goes through. Look at it bounce as it tries to slow down through the opening corner out on track. It is pretty much hold on as much as you can. I wonder if we can see how much toe or how much wheel issue there is out there in terms of how it's sitting. This is difficult. Look at that right hand down. It's there by about 15 degrees at this moment. You are basically chancing it with death every time you go around this circuit. You got 5 laps to go through, and remember that this is virtual, not real. If this was real, there's 2 fuel tanks on the side. That would be the sort of thing where you just get it ever so slightly wrong, it goes boom.
Kind of like a cartoon. What I'm picturing is like, yeah, you get the contact and you're like, where is all this wet stuff coming from? And you look down at your elbow and the fuel's coming out of like the roll cage down there. That's when you know you're in trouble.
Oh, you certainly do. You certainly sense that this is a car that you do not want to mess with. And Sebastian Tixier has driven a really good race, a choice race, a precise race, has made no real attempt to make any moves out there. He's just been a pressure magnet, and he's been looking to put drivers in the pressure cooker, so to speak. And Togo Hesada, someone he's been racing with all season long, someone, Togo, who should be fighting for the championship but isn't, in third place, is someone he wants to put right into play on his championship finale, on his coronation at this point, with the end of the opening lap being in trouble. There is Shoko and Yeva. Yeva trying to go around the outside, 11 on 9, trying to make this pass. They'll fight for 2 corners here at Malmedy. Has he got a run? Answers no. Shoko holds.
This is a good run for both of these competitors, actually, both up a few positions. And this one, battle as well, Steve Morris and David Rossi. Steve Morris up 6 positions, although David Rossi looking down to the inside in that number 17 car. David trying to get by. He's going to continue to show his nose down the hill here, but it's so tough to get the pass done on the entry. You really have to hold the car down low and hope that you can clear them by exit. Otherwise, you're in that losing spot.
And speaking of which, the battle on for 11th continues on. Brilliant stuff with Stay Morris and David Rossi. Rossi on the outside, trying to open up a chance to get through. Morris takes the place, and we focused on board there with Marco Antonio Lopez trying to get into play here. Has he got a way to search for it? As now for the race lead, it goes side by side on the run to Blanchimont, and lifting out of it then is Togo Hesada. Allows Tixier for the first time to take the lead, but I wonder if Hesada's waiting for that last lap.
I think so. I think you nailed it here, and Tixier goes defensive on the brakes. You see Togo Hesada on the normal racing line just trying to stay as close as possible, but Sebastian Tixier turning up the heat. I've noticed Togo Hesada has lost a little pace these last few laps. I wonder if he's cooling the tires for those last few, like you were mentioning.
Oh, look at the front. Look at the front there. Go
damaged?
back onto that. Look at the front. It's up a little bit. Oh, he's got damage.
Sure enough, he does. Our Togo Hesada, the number 7 car, has damage, and that's not good at a place like this. We're going to see a top speed difference here.
Let's see, Tixier going up, rattling at that top gear. He's up over 270, up 280. Battles back on there during 17th. It's still fantastic between them at this point. Rossi now behind Marco Antonio Lopez for place, but a 219.8 from Hesada on that last lap was a full 1.3 seconds slower than what he's traditionally been doing in this race.
Just a very slow pace, and I wonder if Togo has decided to follow Tixier because, one, if you're in damage, use the slipstream, right? Use the tools that you've got to help you, and right now, that's going to be a car in front of you helping pull you along.
Yeah, and he needs that at this stage if he's got damage. And look out! Round goes 17 into the wall. That's David Rossi having what was a great race, and now a race that is pretty much waiting for the field to go back round again.
We saw David Rossi poke his nose down the last lap in this exact same spot, but look at how busy this is. Trying to pick which do I go, inside, outside, 2 wide, maybe 3 wide, and now here coming up through the right, just gets a little loose and around it goes.
Yeah, just on the inside, a little bit too aggressive on the turn in, and bang, nose into the wall. That is that in terms of what he was hoping for. Back for the lead again. It is starting to close up. Jim Shedlick is only at 1.6. He still has a chance in this race with 3 to go, but Hesada can't carry the speed through the high-speed corners, and you definitely see why with the damage to the front. Now into the chicane once again. Togo has got to be so crucially accurate with the way he makes his moves.
I wasn't even thinking about Jim Shedlick rejoining this front party, but with our front 2, a little bit of damage on Togo, Tixier still there, and I mean, yeah, Jim Shedlick's the fastest car on the racetrack by almost a full second.
I tell you what, he does have that Carolina racing spirit right now as he will run through Eau Rouge and Radion. Fastest lap of the race, 2:17.5. The bit is between the teeth.
Trust me, there is plenty of time for Shedlik to come up and steal away this win, especially with Togo Hesada making moves like this. He's poking his nose out, Phil and Tixier's mirror saying, hey, let's go racing.
And this is racing at the purest level. Hesada waiting on Tixier, who is the champions-elect. He will be crowned no matter what happens to him at this point. With Hesada in second, he wants to prove that I have what it takes to challenge you next season. Jim Shedlik trying to get back in this race after the slowdown penalty. He's driving like a man possessed to get there. Down through Speaker's Corner. Hesada trying to throw everything he's got at this. Tixier knows he just has to hold on every corner he can.
And Togo taking a little bit of a shallower line than Tixier, trying to get that clean air to the front of this machine. And I know the downforce isn't that crucial here without... Oh, look at this! Huge slide from Tixier!
Wow, race still on. It brings Shedlik in because Hesada couldn't capitalize. He was stuck in the middle of the road waiting for the power, waiting to try and not get caught out here. On he goes at Campus Corner. Stavelow's right is next, and now with a lap and a bit to go, where do you find this move if you are Togo Hesada, and how crucially do you need to make it? He tucks right up behind, and I don't think he's got enough through here. Tixier is using all the road as he heads to Blanchemont. He'll overextend. Here comes Hesada. He tries to block the pass, and Shedlik now through the middle makes it 3 wide to the chicane. They hold it. Tixier still with advantage. Shedlik now second.
I am jumping all over Tixier right now. He's got overheated tires. He's got dirty tires. Go take advantage of that number 4 car. Here comes Shedlik. He's going to poke his nose down to the inside. Can he steal this one away?
Oh, this would be daylight robbery of the highest caliber if Jim Shedlik, after being 4 seconds back of the race lead at halfway through this race, can come back on pure pace alone and win this one. Up through Eau Rouge and Radion. This is the key place to get it done. Up on the Kemmel Straight. Tixier runs wide again, and thank you very much, Jim Shedlik to the point.
All he's got to do is nail this sector. He's been the fastest car on track. Jim Shedlik now with clean air, no lap traffic in front of him, nothing to worry about. Hit your marks, and wow, what a race.
Hesada, no chances anymore. It's still on as well. Shoko trying to get himself through. Remember your championship position, Ben. Look behind you. That's John Olsen. That's for championship position.
Oh, man, it is not over at all between Shedlik up front. Also, John Olsen, this battle for 5th. And, man, you couldn't ask for a better round 12.
No, you absolutely could not. This has been a glorious end to a fantastic championship. Gap is about 0.8 of a second at the front. Here in the race for 4th in the championship, Richard Watson watches it on in the perfect seat in the house. Shoko holds place, but John Olsen has one last throw of the dice if he wants to take that away, and that will be heading to the final chicane out on track. So he'll have that to think about. We look back towards the front. There is Sebastian Tixier. In front of him, number 2, Jim Shedlik. And Jim has a gap, and crucially is using that gap to all of his advantage. He has driven the absolute consummate recovery race, and this has been for him a style of race that he will go down and say, I earned that race. I earned every single second of this that have gone through. It's been 35 minutes of incredible, intense racing action. Through the final chicane, they'll still have the last source hairpin to tackle, and there'll be one last throw of the dice from Tixier. Maybe he's within a range where he could go and make it happen, but has he got enough to send it on the brakes? He'll give everything he can, but he's not quite there. It's off the final corner for Jim Shedlik. He will take the race. He wins the battle. It's Sebastian Tixier's title. He wins the war.
I love this Lotus 49 Sunday Grand Prix Legend Series, and here's Benzoko hanging on to it. Actually, John Olsen locked up going into the chicane, lost out a space on Richard Watson out there, but I mean, what a race. And look at this racetrack is so long, we've still got cars racing out there.
Oh, we still do. The likes of Christo Chinmai, trying to find himself a place late here on Jan Stefan for position here. This is important for him. Jan, of course, having to defend this one then into the chicane. There's still a chance with the way he took a defensive line. Look at this, wide through the corner. He'll be wide again, and there's smoke there in the background as they go through. Look at this, open the lineup. Christo, you've got a great chance to make this place, and he's only going to have to look at the inside of the last horse hairpin. Chinmay, get it stopped on the apex, son, and you got it through. Absolutely has done, but here comes the attack back. Beautiful through the gears. Jan Stefan now come along, runs out of time. What a battle.
I love it. I love it. This every race in this series is great, but I mean, talk about ending with fireworks. Is that Ben Zocco? I love Ben Zocco too. Ben, you've made a fan out of me. Post-race burnouts, no matter what finish you have.
If it's a good race, if it's a bad race, if it's a middling race, it's a burnout for Ben Zocco. That much we know with everything that goes on. We're going to step aside for one moment, though, here at the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, post-race coverage here of your Grand Prix Legends Lotus 49 series is here after this. A race befitting of a championship finale, a race which threw everything at the wall and then some. The Grand Prix Legends having an incredible showcase here at the end at the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It was Jim Shedlick from 4 seconds down at one point in this race to recover back to win this one, heading on to the final lap. He got it done over Sebastien Tixier by just about 0.4 of a second. Togo Hasada would round out the podium, but the damage that he suffered cost him his race here today. Antti Lepisto will be fourth, with Jorge Nieva fifth, and Benjamin Shoko getting that fourth place in the championship with a sixth place finish. Richard Watson would make the pass on John Olsen late. That would move them seventh and eighth places, with Jack David Spickett, the most low Lotus 49 name in 9th place, and Laus Olsen rounding the top 10.
Yeah, and here in 11th place, we have Jason Clapper, who is our biggest mover. I mean, talk about this. 25 positions up. He started back in 36, almost cracked the top 10 for Jason Clapper. Matthew Maudsley in 12th, Will Lamb 13th, Steve Morris 14th, Marco Antonio Salgado with the top 15, Bjorn Ackerman 16th place, Robert Plumley 17th, Cam Porter 18th, David Rossi with the late race problem finishes 19th, Christo Shinmei, who we saw with the final turn pass there, comes home 20th.
Over the page then to the third page of results. Jan Stefan had his race on with Tobias Hanvi in 22nd. Matt Linden would finish 23rd ahead of Andrew Eng, with Sandeep Banerjee and Terry Trommershauser in 26th position. Kurt Clapper would manage 27th with Jonathan Jourdain in 28th, and still on the leading lap, Andres Bruno and Ellis Spice. Not many retirees here from this one.
No, this is still on the lead lap. Christian Rumpelnick in 31st, Richard Covington 32nd, Akira Shimitori in 33rd, Tomas Tuba 34th, Stefan Frisch, and then we get our first car one lap down, Michael Grissinger, but still finish, as well as Robert Reynolds one lap down. Then we have cars that had problems or DNF, Timothy Porter, Ivan, Gary Anderson, Sanchez, and then unfortunately some familiar ones way down here. Ove Trengrade and Gary Ho as well.
Yeah, Javier Sanchez you can put in there as well. Trengrade's race over at the end of the opening lap, and going about as well as Manchester United in the FA Cup at this moment in time. But let's get ourselves the opportunity to talk with a number of drivers here today. First and foremost, it's your race winner. It's Jim Shedlick. He stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Jim, I mean, talk about coming through with a comeback drive at the final race here. Wow, what a race. Congrats on the win.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, what a race is right. I couldn't believe it, honestly, when I started to reel them in. And until the last lap, I thought I might get just kind of right to them, but not have a chance at them. And yeah, I couldn't believe the seas kind of parted for me there.
So talk to me. What was going through your head when you made the mistake in the bus stop? I would call it, the second time, and you lost the group. Did you think you were able to catch up? Were you just turning qualifying laps at that point? What was going through your head?
Oh, my first thought was aggravation in myself, because I'd made the mistake earlier, like you said, and I knew I needed to send the brake bias a little bit farther back, and I did right after that. And it gave me so much more confidence in the car. I started clicking off laps half a second faster, and I didn't think there'd be any chance to come back to the top two, and I don't think there would have been if they hadn't started racing each other. But yeah, once I got the balance of the car a little bit better in the brake zone, that gave me a chance to come back.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if you know this, but somewhere Toga Hisada picked up some front end damage. Then they started racing, and then you really closed up. But last question, I saw your eyes get real big going into the bus stop. Did you think about taking it 3 wide there at the end?
Definitely thought about it. I had a huge run, and yeah, there's kind of space, and then it kind of closes up, so it would have been pretty sketchy. But I think we all kind of braked to run our lines essentially, and we were able to sort of sort it out. But yeah, there was a moment I thought about it.
I mean, Jim, one of the best races in this series I have covered in a long time. I mean, talk about a comeback drive. You stole away the victory. Is there anybody you want to say hi to or thank?
Sure. Just say hi to my family. I know some of my family's watching right now, and yeah, I'm just glad we could run this today.
Jim Shedlick coming home with your race win today in the Lotus 49s.
An incredible performance by him. Let's talk, though, to your champion for this season. Sebastian Tixier, you are a Grand Prix legend. Talk us through, then, your race here today, because the championship was over after a lap. Hervé Trengrade out of the race. Not the way you would have wanted to fight for it here today, we know, but you had an incredible race.
Yeah, I totally messed up my qualification, but I saw that I was not too far from Ove, and I know that New Togo was super fast here. So my plan was just to follow, and I had a good start, and then yeah, I just follow, I try to avoid. I saw that Ove had an issue at La Source, but I did not know what happened, and after I think at some point I was looking to Ratif, I couldn't see him, and I almost crashed myself. I ran in the dirt. So yeah, after that I was just trying to follow Jim and Togo, and try to take advantage.
Well, you followed in the tracks, you tried to take advantage, but for you had yourself the lead with about a lap and a bit to go. But talk us through Eau Rouge and Radion on that final lap, because it looked like you found yourself pushing the boundaries, trying to use everything available to you, and it just looked like the entire circuit was never going to be enough for you to contain the car.
Yeah, my big mistake, I think, was the lap before that at Blanchiment. I had a new shifter, it's an active shifter, and not completely used to it, and I struggled to shift from 5th to 4th just before Blanchiment. So I just know the exact place you don't want to have any problem with shifting. So I went super wide, and then I tried to come back, and then that's where Jim tried to get 3 right, I think, because we were fighting with Togo. And then I did several other mistakes. But I'm happy to finish second and win my second championships.
Well, you got your championship. That is crucial. Now the target's on your back for next season. Do you feel like the consistency is going to be there, that the ability that you've got is increasing with your new shifter that you've got, that it's going to give you more consistency with the way that you race?
More immersion, more realistic, but I think it's harder to shift with this one. But that's not what I drive for. I have the Lotus 49 rim replica. Just drive to have fun, like in the ancient time. Next season it will be summer vacation, so I will miss 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I will just drive for fun, not for the championship. Well, I was not driving for the championships this season either, so who knows?
You might get another one with that sort of attitude, Sebastian, but the floor is yours. Shout out sponsors or anyone you'd like to thank.
Thanks to the community, GSRC, Togo, and Ove, we had a really cracking fight. Jim a bit less, but congrats to him to the race, and shout out to my team, Platinum Racing.
Well, there you have it. Platinum Racing with a platinum performance. It's Sebastien Tixier who comes away with the result of second place, and not only that, a championship to boot with it too. Togo Hasada was the driver who finished off in third place. He stood by with Joey Atterbury.
Togo, first of all, congratulations on the third place finish today. I know it wasn't what you wanted, but you're still standing on the podium.
Yes, there is a really frustrating race. Qualifying setup is really good, and did a fastest lap of this week. Yeah, but the less setup, less fueling with a little bit understeer with this condition today. So really struggling to press up to put the throttle down. So yeah, I could win this race. So really frustrating.
Yeah, I know it was frustrating out there, but first of all, I just want to say thank you, because you have provided a ton of great racing this season, and I hope to see you back next season as well. You're always one of the fastest drivers out on racetrack, so I really enjoyed watching you out there the entire season. And my question for you, did you know that you picked up front end damage near the end of that race?
Yeah, not. I'm not sure. Sometimes it should be always braking, I think, but yeah, I'm not sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think it slowed you down just a little bit, which is why Tixier was able to close in so much on you. But like I said, you're one of the fastest cars always out there. Keep it up, Togo. Is there anybody you want to say hi to or thank, since this is the last round of the season?
Yeah, first my family, my father, my grandfather, and my team, and the 49 community, and the Global Sim Racing channel. It's really great broadcast every week. And yeah, I hope to listen and to the interview next season.
Awesome. Well, Togo Hasada coming home third today in the race, and also third overall in the championship.
Yeah, an incredible result for him over the course of the season. He had a great run. Someone who had himself in a battle, though, today was Benjamin Shoko. Now, Benjamin, we know you love your doughies at the end of the races, come rain, come shine, come damage or otherwise. But for you, right at the end of that race, the difference between 4th and 5th in the championship was the car behind you.
Yeah, and I knew that was my goal going into this race. I was like, I just want to beat John. That's pretty much my objective for the season, actually, because John provides us with the setups, which is always good. And he, when he came into the series, he was a bit slower than me, but now he's faster than me. So, like, it was a good benchmark to be like, all right, if I can beat John in the championship, then I've had a good season. So, going in, I looked at the people around me, and funny enough, this set up the best sort of title showdown for us people fighting for 4th, because Jorge and Antti were in there too. And I looked at those people, I'm like, oh geez, whoever finishes the best out of that lot will probably get 4th. I obviously had enough points over Jorge and Antti to claim that spot. So I feel lucky that happened. But also, this is exactly what I wanted to have, was a race with the 4 of us who are really close together the whole season, not always often together on track for the races, but we've all got that same pace, more or less. So Titanic battle at one of my favourite tracks that I know that I can always do well at. So any other track, maybe I might not have even been in this battle, and I might have been behind these guys. But no, it all worked out here in the last race of the season. Epic stuff. So thanks to all those guys.
Well, an epic battle for you at the end of the season. Let's turn our attention to next season. 4th place in the championship's always a great result to come away with, but you know that the group is going to be feisty behind you. They're all going to want to try and find pace and move themselves up through. So talk us through what makes your challenge then going through for the next season in this classic Lotus 49.
My strategy is always the same. I just turn up and race. I do very little practice, so it's just for fun. Sometimes I have very little practice and warm up. So it's just get out there and the muscle memory takes over, and I just want to have some good battles and some good fun. So the other guys will probably, they can get faster. Or I think we're all racing at our best. Anyway, more practice would make me maybe a little bit more faster, and I could maybe get more consistently up with these guys. But every race is different, every week is different. So it's there's no mindset. It's just get in, have fun.
Get in, have fun, and make this a reality for you. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, just thank the whole community. John, again, for being a good rival all the time, providing the setups every week. The whole community, everyone who is active on the Discord, and everyone who enjoys this car, everyone watching. I hope to put on a good show next season.
Well, a good show. Hopefully we will see Ben Shoko joining us there, getting 4th overall in the championship, a 6th place finish here today. And one final driver to talk to, Joey. It's Cam Porter, who finished a little bit down the order, but had a good race nevertheless.
Yeah, Cam, we saw a little bit of a self-spin kind of in the middle of the race there, but talk to me about the season as a whole. How did you feel about it?
I think I could have done better. I don't feel like I'm in the right place being in F1 right now because my iRating has been up and down recently, especially this season. So as it sits right now, my iRating will be put me in F2 again next season, so maybe I could have a chance at a championship. But this season was fun. I always have fun driving Lotus 49s. I've had a lot of self-induced troubles, so hopefully next season I can just focus on keeping it clean and doing a little bit better.
Well, you and I both out there, whenever I'm in the sim, it's always self-induced problems for me as well. And talk to me. We saw everybody have so many problems going up over Eau Rouge, through Eau Rouge, and seemed like that's where it bit you as well. Is the car just really unstable, or is it more of a kind of grab the car and handle it through there, and sometimes it doesn't work out?
That's exactly right. If you want to be fast through there, you have to be aggressive over those curbs. And obviously the car gets light, and you hit that curb wrong, it kind of throws the car in the air. And for me, I hit it just the wrong way, and it just kind of threw me sideways. Thankfully, I didn't damage the car and was able to keep going. I think ultimately I only lost one position out of that at the end. So overall, pretty fun race today, and I'm okay with this result.
It didn't damage the car because you're right. You got right back on pace and ended up turning your fastest lap of the race at the end there. So you're right. No damage on the car, just like you mentioned, a little self-inflicted wound. But you're one of my favorites out there on the racetrack. I always love you logging into the cameras, providing us the onboard shots every week. We hope to see you back next season. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
I want to shout out my brother Tim for being such a great bro, taking care of business back home. You know what I'm talking about, Tim. So love you, bro. Keep it up.
Well, that was Cam Porter, one of our regulars here, coming home 18th today.
18th position, doing a very good job, and we'll be looking at F2 next season, trying to make a challenge there. But that's going to do it, not just for today's broadcast, but also the season as well. I want to give a massive thanks to all of the team who have been getting it done for us today, from Adam, from Joey, and from Dougie. Always make sure to check out our social media out there overall, as well as our website and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Also want to give a special thanks out to June Lalonde. Her music is incredible. You can catch it on Bandcamp. Buy it now. The next race should be about 2 weeks' time. We don't know what it is, but we know when it is. It's going to be 1:30 p.m. GMT, so that's 2:30 p.m. BST, and all the other races are listed up on screen in terms of what's next right now, this second. Join us on the Global Sim Racing channel. Join Joe Peak, Michael DeTurk, and Robert Covey, because we will be with the Majors 24 top split. It's going on right here, right now. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we will see you next season.